So, another day, another filmmaker, another conversation. And the filmmaker I'm joined with today is someone who, we had a very, though it was in a group setting, but I think the interaction that we had during Bombay Meri Jaan promotions in London, it was very special because I just knew that there was a lot of that he had a lot to say. But obviously we had not that much time. But I think now is the really most appropriate time for this to happen. And especially because Boong has become such a big global success. It's won the BAFTA, and I think it's a really, really massive one. And I'm delighted to bring the head of Chalkboard Entertainment and the director himself, Shujaat Saudagar. So, Shujaat, thank you so much for joining me on Filme Shilmy. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much, Anuj, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you once again after Bambai Meri Jaan, and this time for a beautiful, lovely film of ours called Boom, made by Lakshmipriya Devi.
Absolutely right. So, look, Sujat, I think for me, what uh Boong represents, first of all, it really amplifies the voice of the Northeast, and I think it really gives Manipur that voice of hope as well as mirroring a stark reality which still exists today. And I think it's such a beautiful, poignant synergy that's there because you also have that, then you also have dysfunctional family relationships, the idea of coming of age, innocence being burdened by conflict and warfare. There's so many different strands that are there. I think for you as a co-producer of the film, what really struck with you, and given the fact that you kind of explored the Northeast voice in Rock On to your directorial film, because I think there was a Meghalaya portion that was there. How
Absolutely.
much of that was stayed with you until Boom came along?
Meghalaya is going to stay with me, and I think I'm going to take it to my grave with the best memories. We had a wonderful time, irrespective of the outcome of the film. It was a pleasure to shoot there, to work there alongside people from Shillong, Cherrapunji, all these places that we visited, and we were really welcome. The food was insane, and they were so hospitable. And the most beautiful part about it was the music. Music is something that really binds the people of Northeast very strongly. And as Indians, I think we are inclined hugely towards music. We've got a huge musical ear, so to speak. And that's why our films carry that thing about music being one of the forerunners in terms of a narrative scale. Um, Coming to Boom, yes, or 4 years back, LP came to us, known LP for the last 2 decades. More we have collaborated on various projects and we've worked on various projects. In fact, she was also there on Rock On 2 with me by my side. And when she came and narrated the script, I mean, I remember I had like goosebumps. And when I read it back again, the beauty about what she had really written was we tend to see the world, at least for me personally, with a very adult perspective, right? And by the time we have reached a certain age, we are so conditioned, environmentally, socially, politically, we're so conditioned to see things in a certain way. The beauty about Lakshmi's film was that it was seen from the lens perspective of this child, right? And that childlike innocence, where the fearlessness of children is what kind of really captured, my my emotion there. Because I was like, why can't we see things like, like children again? Right? Why do we have to take ourselves, so seriously all the time as adults and, think that everyone's attacking us and we have to attack somebody and, in a daily life scenario as well. So that really kind of struck a chord with me, and it got me thinking. I think this entire journey has been a huge growth curve for all of us. I can safely say that. But that fearlessness that comes with childhood is what really kind of stayed with me. It so happens that if, my mother was scared of lizards, I'm bound to be scared of lizards or cockroaches, right? I mean, we condition ourselves and condition our, children to start. So by the time we've reached adulthood, we are of a certain mindset. But as a child, if they don't know fear, that famous thing where the child is going and putting his finger in a plug point and gets electrocuted, they don't understand that fear, right? So that is what was my initial attraction, Anuj, to the script, and the conviction that LP had to make this, right? The decisions that she had made as a filmmaker, also the translation from what it was on paper to screen was, every step was a step up. What she brought in, her emotional anchoring of the characters and of the narrative was immense. Also, of course, because she comes from Manipur, she understands the milieu really well, and I think it's a beautiful love letter from her.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a very beautiful love letter for sure. And I think what it also did, it also kind of spotlighted uh, you know, a story of the Northeast, which a lot of Indians or people of Indian heritage like myself are very unaware about, you know? And I think that was the real beauty of this film is that it really did spotlight that and it kind of highlighted that. And I kind of felt in a way um a bit ashamed, if I'm honest, because I was like, how do I not know about this? I mean, I'm someone who has understood Indian history quite a lot. And yet, this is some area which we're still very much aloof about. And I think that's what really kind of stood out to me is how important it is to really have stories which really emerges. And I think that's why the global recognition really makes a difference here, because it's not just about the BAFTAs or the headlines or getting covered by mainstream commercial, non-Indian or South Asian press, but it's literally just about the fact that it's an underdog story that deserved to be heard from, you know, a state and a region that really has a lot to say, isn't it? And I think that's, I mean, as sentimental that I've had, is that something which you also found as well, Shujat?
Yes, absolutely. Undoubtedly about that. Also, what happens is, I mean, the way I look at it, right? We are such a massive, we're a subcontinent, right? I mean,
Right.
we're such a massive, massive country. And if you see over the last few years, and I don't know, I might be wrong, but I think it is post-COVID or during COVID is where the world really started to shrink, right? Because people had not much to do. Everyone was on their phones and had subscriptions to no OTT channels. And suddenly the entire perspective shifted because we had all the time in the world. Or else, we are hugely, developing nation, and everyone gets up and goes to work, and it is like hammer and tongs. That's the daily life, and you seldom do get a break. And when you do, you want to be entertained, and cinema primarily has been seen as a tool of entertainment in India, right?
Mm.
I mean, let's face it, we haven't had any art revolution or that kind of stuff in terms of educating or audiences evolving to that kind of a intellect in terms of understanding cinema and art, right? We have basic necessities that we need to kind of fill in. But what happened during COVID was that, everyone had access to international, you know, series and films. Like, a lot of our office staff I've seen, I was sitting and watching Mission Impossible in Tamil,
Nice.
right? So they, yeah, and they know who Tom Cruise is, and they know he does this and he jumps off cliffs and all that kind of stuff. So I think what happened was, I mean, even business-wise, if we're just purely talking business, if you look at F1 or if you look at Conjuring, which a lot of, like, at least I can't even spell it, the kind of business it has done, it goes to show that it's just not like people like you and me who are going to the theaters to watch these, films. It is the common man out there. So the awareness has been huge. I think the challenge is to the filmmakers. I think we need to up our game, right?
Mm,
To reach a certain level, to evolve in a certain way and break out of this cocoon of being formulaic in, of sorts, and try and tell stories which are innovative, which resonate with today's times, because the world is a playground now. And again, if you see right from Shaunak's film, right, all that breeds to
mm,
Payal Kapadia to Sabar Bonda, and I've been asked this question a lot that, you do not get enough support, and, there's too much of commercial angle to such films, and how does it happen, and homebound, and I'm like, great, we're talking about it, right? I mean, 7 years ago, we were not even, or 8 years ago, we were not talking about this kind of cinema, or films coming into mainstream foray, right? Today, we have a Dharma who's packing homebound, which is great. And there's like Vikram Motwani, who's, packing stuff like, Sabar Bonda, and all these
mm.
great filmmakers are getting a platform, international or whatever. I'm just saying, yes, we have a long way to go. I'm not saying everything is hunky dory. These are baby steps, but the steps in the right direction. And if we are not going to do it or chip away at it, then who's going to do it? And here, Lakshmi came with the script, and everyone resonated. And trust me, the entire cast, the crew, and was completely on merit. Whoever heard it wanted somehow to be a part of the script, like Vacation Meet. We said,
Yeah.
we have to make this film. We have to try and make this happen, not just because of, LP being a friend, but because of the story that she was, saying. And we just wanted to be we were grateful that she thought of us as partners, and, we jumped onto the bandwagon, honestly, to tell you.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I think what really is important here, and I want to acknowledge that, and in a way, not make it sound like a rant, really, but I think for a while, a lot of us have been deeply exhausted by this whole poverty porn that's gone on, and the sort of films that represent India, sort of really being heavy in glorifying poverty, glorifying the financially challenged sector of India, because clearly between the highly rich and the affluent, and of course those who are unfortunately challenged financially as well, or also ostracized as well on the fringes, there is the sort of middle ground, and there is that middle strata of society. I think for me, Boong, in a way, it kind of represents that a little bit as well. It's not just about, you know, um, people who are, I mean, sure, there are financial challenges that are, sort of depicted in the film, but at the same time, it's also showing how, people are also hustling in hope at the same time. It's not just a doom and gloom story, because, there's just so many different aspects and layers that if one goes to show, it's very much, contrasting what the West has often viewed India as. Is that something that you also bear in mind, Shujat, sometimes when also choosing the story that you tell? I mean, Rock On 2, for example, was a very powerful example of how it wasn't, it was a very holistic view of society, of relationships as well. You know what I mean to
Yeah.
say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so there isn't a conscious choice, Anuj. I mean, rock on to, uh, I'll tell you the primary motive of Adi, the character played by Farhan. I wanted to take him away because yes, there was intent. There was
Right.
intent to bring Northeast into mainstream cinema, and to do that also smartly in terms of the commercial viability of it was music. And music is such an inherent core of the Northeast. And music is something just kind of binds us, like whether getting the local bands like Somersault and, Lou Major, all these guys onto the film. Of course, I mean, every film is a growing process, right? For us. And we went in with a certain intent and we just came out different, people from that experience. And I think a similar thing has happened with Boom. And I think you've rightfully said it does not feed into that poverty porn because it is a film which is, I mean, the emotional anchoring of it is hardcore, like love and hope, right? That is what it kind of, and I just feel I was inspired as a filmmaker more than anything else when I saw the film, when I saw Lakshmi's cut, that wow, I'm feeling inspired after seeing this film. And it's just not the behind the scenes of, of course, difficulties of shooting in a non shoot friendly place, which also I've just done with JC in Goa. Like it's difficult to shoot, but it's just the characters who would never give up, you know and that is the spirit of the film for me, right? I mean, everyone has a different takeaway from it,
Hmm.
but spirit, or his mother's spirit, in that sense, is what was the driving force for me in the film. And hope is such a big thing, to 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 uplift a certain audience in terms of also showcasing or giving a peek into a country,
Hmm.
right? Yeah, there is a disparity, in our society, and it is there in every society, in every country. Right. I think the feeding of poverty has been going on for quite some time because there is a certain fascination to it. Like, in the 50s and 60s, yes, we were still, we had just come out of partition, we were still developing, we were still growing, but times are different. I mean, whether, it is technically, cinematically, I feel we are really up there. But I would not say that, now that filmmakers are feeding, poverty, it's more in terms of the human stories. And somewhere there is an attraction to the middle class or the lower middle class because the struggle seems to be much larger there.
Hmm.
The perceived struggle seems to be much larger in that segment of society. Also, it makes it a bit more cinematic in that sense, if you may call that, right? To tell these stories and to watch these stories. Like I saw Sirat.
Hmm.
Uh, what a phenomenal film! I was like, absolutely blown, right? I mean, there is no division of, they're not feeling anything of society. Father and his son out to, look for their daughter and going from one rave to another. Absolutely mind-blowing. Or Train Dreams, for that matter, was also a fantastic film that I watched recently, which gives you a peek into the society at that given point in time, which is attractive to see.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned this because I'm going to use that to segue into my next question, really, because I feel, you know, you've often really championed friendship, I think, in your contents. Whether it is a rock on to Bombay Meri Jaan, friendships have been a very pivotal backdrop, I think, for your works. Like you've also mentioned as well, that it does have a peek into society as well. There is that sort of strand that is there. But I think with Boong, what is very special is that often said it. In fact, I remember speaking with Farhan, and bringing this topic up during Bombay Meri Jaan promotions about why dysfunctionality is such a, especially dysfunctional relationships are such a big backdrop for Excel content, and I think he was very open and honest in that response. And I genuinely really look up to that actually. And it made me think a lot about dysfunctional relationships and how that really does form this pivotal part here in Boong as well. But yet it's also got that sense of um, you know, amistad, that friendship that's also there. Like for example, you got a guy like really weirdly, I don't know, maybe it's just because it's just the Excel lover in me and someone who loves cinema so much. But I could see a bit of Murad and MC Sher, for example, in the two lead characters of Boong, right? And it's just really interesting how like a lot of these strands are so pertinent, and I think it's a really nice combination of what you bring as well as a storyteller and how that the qualities of what Excel sort of their signature sort of storytelling trope, and of course LP's voice as well, the way it's all just come together. I mean, it's really beautiful. So I want to spotlight that a bit actually about friendship and having a sort of peek into society, but at the same time also being quite earthy. That's something which is definitely, very Shujaat Saudagar style of storytelling for sure.
Yeah, friends are people who we choose. I think that says it all because we really can't pick our relatives, right? We have to just, I mean, we either love them, we hate them, we have to bear them, and there is nothing much that we can do with that scenario. But friends are, at least for me, are people who we choose as individuals, and they choose us back, right? I mean, there is, you're not kind of handcuffed because of a certain, relationship, and you're born into it, and then this is your aunt and this is your cousin, and you can't really, kind of make a choice and turn around and say, "आज से तू मेरा मामा नहीं हो सकता है." You can't say that. But what happens with friends is that I mean, you'll always see, and at least in our, culturally, we've like even me growing up, right? Parents are like my parents used to be like, how are we the last people to get to know, right? About anything that you guys are up to me and my sister, and they're like, and you always get to listen to this, na, उसने बोला और दोस्ती करो उसके साथ, and इसने बोला, it creates inherently a situation which can ride on conflict, right? Friendship is has that on the back of it always. And that is where, a lot of trauma comes in. Conflicts, give birth to drama, cinematic drama. And there are, situations where you can actually speak your mind. So
Hmm.
they are great tools as well, to echo characters, to echo times, to echo emotions, right, with each other, which are unfiltered, right? Even if you've seen Boom, both the boys, this is such a beautiful relationship that LP has crafted between them. It's like any two friends. You feel you resonate with these guys. You feel that, yeah, you are part of that, gang, you're part of that group, and you guys are having lunch together, and you guys are, fooling around together, and, getting into trouble together. And that joy is a completely different joy from going for a family picnic.
Yeah.
जहाँ मौसा आई है, मौसी आई है, बुआ है, ताऊ जी हैं, XYZ and all of that stuff. It's a completely different emotion. And I think we feel the most about it because these are choices that we make,
Hmm.
right? I want Anuj to be my friend, and I want to be accepted by Anuj as a friend as
Hmm.
well, right? And if there is an issue, I mean, there is a completely different graph of relationship that goes on. And I think that is why it is such a enticing, tool
Hmm.
that is just globally, that if you see that friendship plays such a, a huge part in telling cinematic narratives today. And of course, Excel, as you've mentioned, right, from Dil Chahta Hai to Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara to Dil Dhadak. It's I think they have a similar thought process where they like to explore the relationship dynamics between two people via the tool of friendship, which I think is a great cinematic tool to have.
Right. No, beautifully said. I think let's pivot now to Chalkboard Entertainment. And I think, it's interesting because I feel like when you do have your own production house and you have your own studio, I think that really becomes a culmination of your career thus far. You've worked in I mean, your main roots have been in advertisement, I think since what, 1999, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. And also, you know, you've had this amazing creative flair as a storyteller, very compelling, very gripping. But I think when you are someone who's also heading a production house, I mean, it's incredible that you are. But there's a lot of things that I think which you've experienced. There's that sense of imaging and, treating films almost like a product. But then there's also that side of you, which is the artist in you as a storyteller. How much how important has it been for you to really deeply introspect on both these sort of aspects of your life of being someone who sells products, through advertisement, but then also someone who loves to tell stories in a very creatively liberating way? That must be I'm sure there must be a bit of a challenge sometimes of making sure you get that balance correct, right?
Yeah, so I got into films because I was already doing advertising.
Hmm.
And if I had to apply the same, you know, advertising into films, then I would not want to do films because I'm already doing it, right? I mean,
Hmm.
there's a certain, because in advertising, I'm selling a product for a client, yeah, for an agency. There's a brief. There is a very specific need, right? There's
Hmm.
a problem solution thing at times, right? Of course, it does entail human insights, and I love advertising. It's fascinating to tell a story in 30 seconds. But yes, it is not as purely as a filmmaker. It's not freedom to tell your own narrative as such, right? It is primarily driven by market forces. They know their product better than I do, and they know their markets and they need to. So that is the differentiation. If I had to, honestly think about similar things in terms of the stories that we want to tell, then I would have just stuck to, advertising. So films give me that freedom, which creatively, so to speak, or dramatically, so to speak, advertising can't. And
Hmm.
advertising gives me the discipline in that sense to tell a narrative, which, films can't because I can get indulgent about things. Uh, so yes, when Vacation I started Chalkboard, our entire focus was on let's work and let's make cinema that we most importantly want to watch.
Hmm.
The kind of films that we want to watch is the kind of films like let's make, because money, see, is a byproduct in terms of the commercial aspect of it. Prahlad Kakkar, my boss once told me that, he told me this. He said, money is a byproduct, Shujat. Your work has to be great and consistent,
Hmm.
not just, good at times. You have to be consistently performing. And he said, that is it, no matter how small the film is, how big it is, how good or bad the script is, you have to do your best and
Hmm.
consistently perform. And money will come. He says that's a byproduct. If you're going to start chasing money, then that is what you will be doing, chasing money, right? Of course, we look at, but there's a fetish of box office collections in India and, 100 crores, 200 crores, thousands. Now I think we've crossed thousands, and, certain films are doing that kind of business. And, but at the end of the day, these are numbers, and numbers will be shattered.
Hmm.
In the next coming few years, it's like Sachin Tendulkar and it's Virat Kohli, and there'll be another kid in the next couple of years or 2 3 years who's going to come and topple those records. But what remains is the legacy of a Sachin Tendulkar, right? A legacy of Virat Kohli. I mean, that is something that you can never take away. Despite the numbers, we still today talk about the Godfather and we talk about Don Bradman, right? In the
Absolutely.
context of cricket. We still talk about Divar and about Don and the dialogues, and they are going to be here forever. And I feel like really honored to be a part of Boong, because 50 years from now, when people are going to look at which was the first Indian film that won a BAFTA, it's going to be Boong. And that is something that is etched in history, and you can't take that kind of thing away. Having said that, at the end of the day, it is a film that speaks on a completely human level. I think that
Absolutely.
yeah, that is what the film represents for me, and that is what it did on the script level. And after seeing the film as well, and the never say die spirit, of humans. So it's an extremely hopeful film, which is filled with love and care and tenderness, and it's funny and it's quirky, and it represents, a kind of milieu that is getting stronger in today's generation,
Mm.
um, where yeah, at times I can understand, giving up is sometimes not an option, and you kind of get tired about it, but it is the spirit with which this kid has led this journey, and the journey is what really kind of matters, not the outcome of it, but of him coming of age, and still having that die-hard attitude of his.
Mm. I think what I really wanted to echo here as well, based on what you said, is that look, winning a BAFTA and getting validation from, a global platform is absolutely, of course, it's always wonderful. And, it is important as well at times. But I think what it's important to remember is that this isn't just about the fact that it's like I said earlier about it getting the headlines, but it is just the fact that it is of an unheard voice finally being recognized. It's about innocence really being brought to the limelight and held tightly. Like I was just mentioning to you about, when Lakshmi went up on stage on the BAFTA and she hugged Paddington. That was everything you needed to know about her, and her craft as a storyteller. She seems to be someone who has held on to that innocence despite whatever has happened in Manipur and whatever, because I'm sure it must have been very overwhelming and very, very hard for her to even understand what's happened there and comprehend all of that. But no, it just is a power. It's a win for art. It's a win for humanity, in my opinion. But
Absolutely.
I think let's go back to Chalkboard Entertainment, though. I think we focus on your strands as a filmmaker about friendship and then also a bit of societal sort of subliminal sort of themes that come in there. But I think, do you feel like that's the sort of work that you want to go forward now, sort of champion as well? Because I feel like every studio ends up having that ethos, that core ethos that they really follow in all the stories they like to tell.
Right. Yeah, I mean, as I said, in the beginning, I love watching films. I love reading scripts, and I love reading, and there are so many stories out there, and such immense, immense talent in terms of writers, in terms of filmmakers, and yes, what we are essentially, looking for are good, honest stories, right? Again, to repeat myself, money is going to be a byproduct. It is going to be a derivative of the work that we do. It is eventually going to happen, right? We can't stress about that. What we need to really stress about is telling good crafty stories, good emotional stories, stories which resonate with people, which is a reflection of characters and human nuances. And somewhere, I mean, for me, it is if a theater full of 200 people and there is just one person, who feels the thing is a victory for me as a filmmaker. I do not want, I mean, it's great, but I do not want them to start, dancing all over the screen and throwing money and all of that stuff. It's just on an emotional level, right? Because that is entertainment. You play another song and, the dance move is going to change. So
Yeah.
that is really, I do not consider that, to be part of, a cinematic narrative. Of course, it's great entertainment and we love entertainment. Why not? But on an emotional level, if we manage to, resonate with even one person in that, dark hall, I think our job is kind of done there.
Done.
That
Mm.
is where, the victories lie. And these are small, small victories. I think Boong is a prime example of that,
Mm.
because the resonance with the characters, with the kid character, is so immense. Whoever has seen the film, right? As I said, you feel like you're a part of that story, right? I mean, it's a journey you've gone with them, like with both of them, and you feel that you want to be sitting right next to them and eating their food or their tiffin boxes,
Mm.
right? So, yeah, those are the kind of stories that Chalkboard is looking for. There's nothing which is specific in terms of a genre. I mean, I love horror films. I made a horror film as well, The Underbug, which
Right.
had we had gone to Slam Dance and we won the grand jury prize at Slam Dance with Ali Fazil and
Mm,
uh, Dalal. I made it during COVID. We shot it in 7 days, and yeah. So there are various genres, that we want to kind of dabble in. But yeah, essentially films that we would like to, watch. We would be proud of, and most importantly, put our names to it. I think that is we value that somewhere.
mm.
That sometimes it gets easy to succumb to maybe the commercial aspect of things, but not necessarily. I think, there's a lot more to do and a lot more to tell.
Absolutely, no, very well said. But it's already looking very promising though for you at Chalkboard Entertainment. You've obviously got JC coming up, which looks very interesting. Is what you've got what Abhay Verma and Shanaya Kapoor in
Yeah.
the lead for that. I don't know if this is true or not, but I did read up some other collaborations that you might be working on with very prominent, actors who have turned producers as well, which looks very intriguing. I've intentionally kept the name out because I'm not sure whether it's confirmed or not, and I'd rather either just tell me that it's still in the works or not. So I've deliberately not kept mentioned the name, but I think all in all, it looks very promising. I think looking going forward as well. So whatever you are able to divulge about the forthcoming collaborations, Shujat, I would love to know um not just obviously information about that, but then also I think creatively, how liberating has it been for you? What sort of boundaries have you pushed actually as a creative with the upcoming sort of works as well in the pipeline?
Yeah, so JC is something that was in the works for a very long time. It's written by Avinash Sampath,
Mm,
uh, a very dear and close friend of mine and a terrific writer. Uh, his previous works been AK versus AK and
wow.
Control. Recently was Control, yeah. And JC is something which is, born out from, I would like to say it to Avinash, a deep bond between us. It was great fun collaborating with him on it. It is a film set in 1987 Goa, against the backdrop of Goa about to be awarded statehood. I was born in Goa, so it's something very personal to me. It's like a homage to Goa from me and my childhood. Yes, Abhay and Shanaya have been wonderful in the film. It also has Tinu Anand, sir, and an entire ensemble uh, cast. And I'm saying this not because I have made the film, but it's going to hit people sideways in a good way.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, yeah, I'm really happy with the way it has, shaping up. We are in the last stages of post-production of it, and we're going to make an announcement of the release very soon in March. And I mean, announce the date. And yes, besides that, there have been other collaborations which have been happening, but primarily on a production level. So
Okay.
Vikesh has been kind of, heading that. There is an Amazon film which is produced by Alia Bhatt's company, Eternal Sunshine.
Right.
Uh, yeah, where Vikesh has helmed the production of the thing from Chalkboard. That has completely been driven by Alia, you know,
Amazing.
and yeah, and Shriti, the director of the film, and there is another web show which is again just getting into production, which again is a co-production for Netflix, which has been worked upon. Right now, my all focus is on JC to finish the film. We are, as I said, last stages of post-production, background score, music. So that is where we are at. I have a great team which came together on GC. I've got Milind Daimade and Vijay Moria, who wrote, the dialogues. Varun Grover has written the lyrics for it. Achin Thakkar is doing the music. Farhad Helbi is my cinematographer on the film, who's done a terrific job. So yeah, all in all, very excited. And once this is done, and I'm slightly lazy. Takes me 5 years. Every 5 years, I come with something. Of course, you need to find a story to tell, and that needs to keep you up at nights that I have to
Yeah.
tell this story. I think that is really, really important for me. And yeah, I will soon start hunting for a new one once we see JC through.
Amazing. Well, this sounds really exciting. So the actor turned producer I was referring to was indeed Alia. So now that you mentioned it, I feel like okay, fine. I can actually openly talk about it now because it's really good. I think is it Don't Be Shy, I believe, right? I
Yes.
think. Oh my God, it looks so cool. I loved the announcement video. I think it's brilliant. And also trusting Prime Video as well to really release, something like that. And I love Prime's content. So I think
Yeah.
it's really exciting. But JC sounds really cool. I mean, I know you said the announcement's going to be there, but if there is anything else that I can squeeze out of you as terms of information, that would be amazing. So anything that you could also reveal that, that's kind of not heard before, but then also something which, you're also at the liberty to divulge about.
Uh, right now about GC, there is, I mean, yeah, as I said, I mean, I just, I'm pretty confident it is something that people are not really kind of expecting, seeing it come. That much I can say with absolute confidence. And besides that, yeah, I think we'll just wait and watch how it all kind of pans out, and yeah, very soon we'll put some stuff out there on JC.
No, that sounds really
But
exciting.
I just want to say it has been a pleasure working with Abhay and Shanaya. They're both terrific, terrific artists, and really hardworking and young and enthusiastic and so sharp and so intelligent that they, keep everyone on their toes. Really, wonderful to work with the younger generation. They're really admirable, both of them.
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely. And I think I'm really excited for that. And I think also we got Boong's cinematic release as well coming,
Yes.
which I'm
Yes.
hoping that it will also release in the UK as well, right?
I'm hoping so. I don't think there is, I mean, we're still kind of formulating because, LP just got it back and, with Ritesh and Farhan, I think we're just still formulating a strategy in terms of the releases of, various countries and that kind of stuff. And also in terms of, platform release. And so one step at a time. And right now, yes, we are really thrilled to announce that it is releasing in theaters in India on the 6th of March.
Amazing. Wishing you and the entire team at Chalkboard I mean, first of all, big congratulations. I don't know what's happening with me. I'm getting into a tongue twister today, but a big congratulations to you and the entire team. And I really cannot wait to see the amazing lineup of content to come out of Chalkboard as well going forward. So big congratulations and cannot wait.
Thank you so much, Anuj. Thank you so much. And always a pleasure to chat with you. It's always wonderful to talk cinema with you. And looking forward to many more.
Absolutely. Oh, definitely one of many for sure.